You're about to learn the ultimate technique that will 10x your ejaculation control. If you don't last as long as you want to, if you have premature ejaculation, if you train in what I'm going to share with you in this video, it is going to completely change and transform your sexual experience. Are you ready for this? I'm Jonathan White, and I've helped thousands of men from around the world retrain their minds and nervous systems to last as long as they want during sex, experience non-ejaculatory orgasms, and go into sex feeling confident and calm. Make sure you hit subscribe to stay notified when new content like this is available, and make sure you get my free ejaculation control ebook through the link in the video description below. In this video, you're going to learn reverse Kegel breathing. Now, this is going to go beyond probably anything you've seen before when it comes to reverse Kegels. To be honest, I had never seen this technique taught anywhere else until I learned it from an obscure teacher in a weird corner of the internet. It was about 6 or 7 years ago. I stumbled upon the work of Dr. Newman K, who's no longer with us. None of his information is really available online either. It all vanished when he passed away. But this dude was a pioneer in the world of sexual kung fu. He had all kinds of crazy information and techniques that I'd never seen anywhere else, and pretty much went against the grain of what most people tell you to do when it comes to sexual mastery. And he's the one that planted the seed in me that maybe we shouldn't be contracting our pelvic floor during sex. But the challenge for me was that it took me years, literally years, of trying to decipher his information because he wasn't a native English speaker and he had a very scientific engineering mind. And again, it just took me a long time to understand what the hell he was actually talking about. But once I did, it completely revolutionized my own sexual experience, because here's the thing. When I was learning these sexual practices, the first thing I learned was contract and hold, squeeze and hold the pelvic floor as if you were holding back urine. And that's what you do to avoid ejaculating. And I got it to work overall, but it was always this thing of like, I was always right on the edge, and like one wrong move would push me over. I could never really fully relax and enjoy sex using this method, looking back on it now. And what I did with this method that I'm going to share with you was essentially learn to completely retrain we could say my pelvic floor, the whole pelvis area, because this all has to work in tandem in communication to basically confuse the signal going up to the brain. Because when you're having sex, experiencing sexual friction, you may have heard me say this many times, but again, it's always important to know that there's specific pathways in your nerves, in your nervous system, that information is communicating between genitals and brain. And there's the sympathetic nervous system fight or flight response when those nerves are sending signals from the friction in your genitals saying, hey, there's this sexual buildup, it's time to let it rip, let the floodgates open and ejaculate, which triggers the ejaculation. Your fight or flight mode kicks in and pumps the fluid out, you ejaculate. And this pathway becomes, we could say, oversensitized or overexcited in men who have strengthened it for various reasons. One being stress. You're just stressed out. Another, even more specific, is having a stress-based experience of sex. Like you had a stressful experience of sex, you felt embarrassed, or you were worried your mom was going to work in. And so this pathway became really, really strong. Most common thing from what I've seen, working with many, many men on this. So basically you go into sex and there's a stress dominant circuit, we could say. These nerves that are stress dominant are what's telling your brain, hey, sexual stimulation, and then before long you're ejaculating. So what we are doing with this technique is blocking that signal. You're blocking that signal from going to your brain saying, hey, it's time to build up to an ejaculation. You're essentially numbing it, and the signal never reaches your brain in the first place. So what you experience is basically being in complete control. Imagine what it would be like. I always thought of this myself. Like, what would it be like to be having sex and you're just able to enjoy it as long as you want? Like, there's no like, oh shit, but what if I ejaculate? It's not even a factor. You're just able to fully enjoy it. Like, just for the enjoyment of it, first of all. But second of all, being able to give your partner a pretty good time. There's many layers to why this is beneficial. But the first, most obvious one is I just want to enjoy sex and choose when it's time to ejaculate. Because when you're able to do this, sex takes on a whole nother dimension. When it's no longer like, okay, a little bit of friction and I ejaculate and it's over. There's a whole spectrum of sexual experience. Most men have never even barely touched the tip of, just the tip. And within this realm, of course, is the experiences of non-ejaculatory full body orgasms. And so being able to sustain sexual stimulation for a period of time is a foundation for being able to get into these states of orgasm. So you got to retrain yourself, all right? And there's many layers to this. Sexual Kung Fu is quite vast and comprehensive. Like, I'm sharing actually a pretty advanced technique compared to like anything else I'm seeing out there, but know that this is still just like kindergarten level of what you learn if you choose to go fully into the Sexual Kung Fu system. This is just like, how do you keep the buildup to ejaculation from occurring? And then later on, it's like, how am I having full body orgasm, circulating sexual energy, connecting with my partner's nervous system, energetic exchange. Things get deep. How do I bring this orgasmic energy into my pineal gland to strengthen my hormonal production? Things get deep, all right? Lesson 1 is basically how to avoid the contractions from occurring in the pelvic floor that are driving you towards ejaculation. And that is where this method comes in. Think of this not as something that you're gonna do like, oh shit, I'm about to ejaculate. What was it, the guy, that weird dude saying in that video? Oh yeah, try to do this thing. It's already too late. You have to practice this every day. I recommend you practice this every day. I always use this analogy of, it's like you're training to be a boxer or an MMA fighter. Are you only gonna try out things once you're in the ring in a fight? Hell no, you're gonna get destroyed. So it's the same thing in sex. You gotta practice, you gotta drill outside of the bedroom. You have to make it part of your daily life. You have to retrain your system to have a different reflex to sex. Instead of a tension response towards ejaculation, it's going to be a relaxation response towards sustained sexual pleasure, essentially, okay? Just important to frame this, like how you want to work with this. So I'm just going to teach you the technique and then maybe talk more about some of the nuances and the implications of it. So all you're going to do is breathe in a certain way. Pretty simple, right? But it's probably going to feel a little bit weird and different. So the first thing is take a deep breath in. Try to fill up your belly. Put your hands on your belly. Breathe in. Just feel what that feels like. Do that a couple times. Don't worry, we're going beyond just breathing from your belly. Now fill up, and you're actually going to hold your breath and think of pushing down from above. You engage the diaphragm, and if I show you, I'm actually pushing down from above, making my belly, it's gonna bulge and expand. Like that. As I hold the breath. So I kind of engage up here, the diaphragm area, I bulge and expand the breath down. What we're looking to do in this technique is create a downward pressurization towards the bladder, the front of the pelvis and the pelvic floor. It's going to take a little bit to do this right, to feel it, but that's what we're doing. So you inhale, hold the breath, push down. So you're using this upper abdominals to push your belly down. It feels like you're pushing the air down into your pelvic floor and your bladder. Obviously the air is not really moving, it's just in your lungs, but there's this physical pushing, and you're going to feel, when you do it right, this pressure in your pelvic floor. And you'll feel the pelvic floor, the pelvic floor being the bottom of the torso, base of the torso, where your genitals and your anus are, and in between, that whole region, that's your pelvic floor. You're gonna feel that slightly bulge, like there's a pressure on it, slightly bulging. You can even place your hands, your fingers down there and feel. And as you do this properly, it's gonna be a little bit of an expansive pressure. So you breathe in, you hold, press. Exhale, release, relax, inhale. So this is kind of first level. This is how you're going to practice it on a day-to-day basis. Don't worry, this will implement to sex. I'll talk about that in a moment, but on a day-to-day basis, this is what you're going to do. You breathe in, try to breathe low in the belly, then you hold the breath and hold as long as you can as you're pressing down, pressuring downward. Not like 100% strength capacity. Don't give yourself a headache doing this, but enough that you feel that downward pressure. And hold that down as long as you comfortably can, until you need to breathe, and then you just exhale, release, inhale. That's the heart of the method. That's overall it. And it's gonna feel weird at first. You're gonna be like, how the hell would I do this during sex? A couple things here. Keep doing it, keep practicing. I recommend doing this for at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. You can do this while you're sitting around, while you're commuting to work, whatever. Don't necessarily do this while driving because you could get lightheaded. Not while operating heavy machinery. So what you want to get familiar with is that feeling of expanding, that bulging. This outward pressure stretches open your pelvic floor, and it's the opposite of the contraction. And what this is going to do is it's creating a different signal in your body. Your mind, your whole nervous system is kind of busy with this engagement of pressing down and bulging out, and it's going to confuse your nerves. And what you're going to be much less likely to get, and eventually you won't get at all, is the signal moving, telling the pelvic floor to contract and build up towards ejaculation. You'll notice as you're having sex, self-stimulating, whatever you're doing, that you'll notice a tendency with each kind of rhythmic stimulation of your penis, there's a little contraction response to your pelvic floor. This downward pressure will prevent that from happening. Now, talk about a couple ways of implementing this. You're going to do this during sex. Now, I know it's going to seem strange, it's going to seem weird. I'll talk soon about how to make it a bit more discreet and how it's going to feel more natural. But first, it's going to feel super, super weird. It felt weird for me in the beginning. But when you can do it, it's going to massively change. You're not going to, like for some men, as soon as they enter into a woman, they start having sex, there's like an immediate, like, I need to ejaculate. This will eliminate that, essentially. And for the whole duration of sex, as long as you're using it, it's going to eliminate that. And you're going to experience what it's like to have sex without the urgency of ejaculation right there at the door, so to speak. So, some practical tips. Before you enter your partner, take the breath and hold it, holding that downward pressure as you enter. And then, basically, the focal point will be to get to the breath hold and hold the downward pressure as much as you can as you're moving during sex. You can make a little sound on your exhale, and then you fill up again. Hold, pressurize, really holding that downward pressure. When you can hold that and maintain it, you see for yourself. See for yourself. Practice it with self-stimulation. Notice what happens. Notice how when you're stimulating yourself and you're holding that downward pressure, it's not going to create the same effect as what you probably have normally in your pelvic floor to where things are contracting. It's going to prevent that from happening, okay? So train that. It's going to feel super awkward, but eventually where this is going to get you, because you're actually training a sort of core engagement. So there's a type of strength in your tissues you need to build. And once you have that, you're going to be able to use the second more discrete method, which is you've already felt that downward pressure. Now just try engaging that without the breath in. So I've even breathed out now and I'm going to engage it. It's kind of this downward pressing feeling. And then I breathe in a little bit, hold that. It's like I breathe down into it, hold it. I breathe more, still holding it. I exhale while holding that downward pressure. It's like a pushing down. Now, this is different than like a feeling of like pushing out a poop or like trying to increase the flow of urine while urinating. That's a more traditional reverse Kegel. This is a pressing down from above. It creates a very different dynamic. And I find it sustainable once I strengthen my body to be able to hold this consistently. So it's going to feel super weird at first. It's a totally new engagement that you're not used to, but with time, you'll get better at it. It will feel more natural. And once you experience what it does for you sexually, to your control, oh yeah, baby, it's game over. It's game over. So again, the basis of the technique is you breathe in, hold the breath, push everything down, push your belly down into your bladder, into your pelvic floor. Hold that downward pressure and relax your pelvic floor while doing that. That will help the pelvic floor expand and relax. Exhale, let it go, breathe in, hold, push down. So the breath hold is the most important part here. That's when you're doing the pressure. Now the second level, once you build a little bit of this ability to do the engagement into your body, is to just be able to hold that downward engagement. And it doesn't have to be as strong. Once things get opened up in your body, it's going to take less pressure, less downward pressure. And you'll be able to maintain that whether you're inhaling, you're exhaling, you'll be able to maintain this downward pressure in your pelvic floor. That's going to, again, eliminate the squeezing. I recommend you do this every day just as a breathing practice, just to like familiarize yourself with this, just to build the ability to do it into your body. And then you practice it with self-stimulation. So notice what it's like when you're stimulating yourself, how this affects your sexual control. And then implement it into sex. Like, hey, what happens? Try it out during sex. It may not go great the first time. That's all right. You practice it again and again, you'll get better and better at it. And again, it's going to feel super awkward at first until it becomes natural. what I found for myself was that it worked really well during sex, but I kept finding myself going back to like the old pattern of just not doing it anymore because that's what's easier and familiar. So I had to like really affirm, okay, this entire sexual session, I'm using this technique, I'm breathing like this downward pressure. It's a bit of work, you know what I mean? It's a bit of work in the beginning, but the rewards are plentiful. Complete, absolute ejaculation control. Like the first time I used this during sex, once I knew what I was doing, I never came close to ejaculating. Didn't come close. Felt amazing. And I was going to town. I wasn't being, slow and gentle the whole time. I was going to pound town, baby. That's what this technique is great for, is, complete ejaculation control. So practice it, work with it, implement it. This is my gift to you, okay? It's my gift to you guys for the holiday season because every man deserves to have amazing sex without immediately ejaculating, essentially. So you implement this and you are going to get there. I've worked with enough men to know that this is the exact retraining and rewiring of your body. It's kind of this pelvic rewiring to where you're going from a really strong contraction response to this pushed out, relaxed response. Like, it's gonna take some time to get you there, but once you do, it's such a different dynamic. You're gonna feel so much space in your pelvic floor when you can maintain this throughout sex, and you're not gonna be right at the edge of ejaculating. It's also gonna completely prevent you from having blue balls when you're practicing sexual kung fu, when you're having sex without ejaculating and practicing semen retention, having non-ejaculatory orgasms. Like, it's an absolute game changer. You are pressuring open your pelvic floor, releasing all the tension that's there. I have a feeling that it's amazing for your sexual health as well, because breathing like this is gonna bring a lot of blood into your genital region, baby. Oh yeah. So practice it, have fun with it. Now I will say there's a sort of secondary exercise that's actually done with some weighted resistance that's gonna really make this area of your body solid. If you'd like me to drop a video on that, let me know in the comments. So train with this, enjoy it, let me know how it goes. I'm curious how this works for you guys. Now what I recommend that you do is watch a video I made that will teach you how to have a non-ejaculatory orgasm. It's a super simple method. It's gonna work great in conjunction with what you've learned in this video. Not only will you have great ejaculation control, but you'll have the ability to start experiencing non-ejaculatory orgasms. So check out that video next. Enjoy your training. Please give this video a like. And again, make sure you get my free ejaculation control ebook, which has more techniques like this that will help you to have absolute ejaculation control. Wishing you sexual mastery. Have a great day, my friend.